figured I'd note this because it's one of these things that I'll never really remember the details specifically. So, after I did my other video that I think I'm still uploading right now, it basically talks about some of the themes that I've predicted. I guess predicted for the rest of this Mercury retrograde, at least the Mercury duration, which will be until next week, and specific deaths, because that's been a huge theme for a while. There's a particular death that occurred. It was actually a veteran Salt Lake City prosecutor commits suicide. He's a 17-year veteran prosecutor, and apparently this just happened. It was posted on the 10th, and so it says that on Monday at 5:30 a.m. his body was found dead near 81 East 300 South. It's been ruled a suicide. Police detective declined to say how investigators reached that conclusion. They said that the attorney's office, the district attorney's office died Monday. An officer died Monday after apparent jumping from downtown parking structure. So I don't know why they declined that, and then they told it right there. But anyway, so they found him at 5:30. They obviously, it's just been recent. They haven't been able to determine when he did it, and I'm not necessarily doing this for bragging per se, but I mean I'll upload it on my vlog anyway. But I went back and looked at the aspects for this exact time frame for Salt Lake City, and I've been examining so many death charts. I was actually able to determine I would say that I'm 90 something percent sure. Like I'm almost percent sure, because this is how it goes. So we have Pluto on the approaching the ascendant. When Pluto goes over your ascendant, that usually signifies, depending on other aspects going on, and also comparing the natal chart, which I don't have. But just this aspect in general, when it goes over the ascendant, is crucial, especially when it has other aspecting planet points. So it's part of the trine, the grand trine, and it's also got a sextile with Chiron, and that was something I actually didn't even notice before. So we have Pluto that's in the first house, then going, and it's going to pass the ascendant, and it passes the ascendant at 56 after midnight. Okay, so he died a little bit before 1 a.m. is what I'm assuming. That's when he jumped. And so he has, in his second house, he has that stellium with Neptune, the South Node, and Chiron. And then in his third house, he has Uranus and Aries. Uranus and Aries is sudden trauma, or especially sudden injury. And depending on how he jumped, if he would have jumped head first or something like that, that would totally explain it. But the fact that Uranus is in the third house means that he somehow was experiencing some sort of trauma via communication lines, electronics, or commuting, or within his immediate environment. So immediate environment would constitute, and commuting would constitute him jumping off a parking garage. And then we also have the Sun and Mercury in the fourth house, which obviously the Sun and Mercury are actually conjunct right there exactly. So that's part of the T-square as well that Mercury's already been a part of. Then we have the Moon in Gemini. Moon in Gemini people are usually very unstable, and this is the key part of the aspects that I see. So we have Moon in Gemini almost on the cusp going into the sixth house, and it has squares to the North Node and the South Node. So the North Node is conjunct Jupiter, and also Jupiter just went stationary too. So the benefits of having Jupiter retrograde is that you seem to rethink things through and be able to analyze potential consequences before you try to engage in said, events that would bring up those said consequences. So it was stationary there, therefore he didn't have that second guessing ability there, and I would have guessed that since he would do something like that, that maybe he doesn't have retrograde Jupiter in his chart anyway. And so you see that there's, well, you can't see it, but there's a square between the moon and obviously Jupiter. And on the other way, we have a square with the Gemini moon to the south node. And obviously those are conjunct with Neptune and Chiron, which make it more difficult. So he, from what I gather, since obviously the nodes are in opposition, he felt torn and wasn't sure necessarily if he was doing the right thing for him or doing the right thing for whoever else that he likely dedicated himself to. It could have been work related, maybe. He does have some hard aspects to his MC, which is in Scorpio too, by the way. So, yeah. But when you continue around too, after you see there's the T-square obviously with the moon and the nodes, and it actually turns into, it's not a kite because there's not an opposition between the moon and whatever's on the other side, but it does continue to ricochet around the chart. So then we have the node square Saturn. Saturn. Both nodes square Saturn. So exactly what I was just saying. So he was torn between if he felt like what he was doing was necessary, if he even wanted to do it anymore, if he wanted to be here, if he needed to be here, or if he might have had some sort of like spiritual, like traumatic moment, psychosis moment, where he felt like he needed to go. I'm not saying that that's a justifiable reason, but that's a potential causality. So the fact that Pluto was going over his ascendant can be either metaphorically representing him needing to transcend or pass on or evolve, or it could be a physical manifestation of death. I would assume that it's a physical manifestation of death because it's part of the Grand Earth Trine, but there's a lot of other factors involved. Also, the fact that Lilith is trine with his moon too, that's not good. So anytime that there's a positive aspect with Lilith, you automatically need to just, erase it from your mind. It is not a good thing. In fact, from my research and what I experienced myself, hard aspects with Lilith are actually better than good aspects, because essentially she gets her way with the harmonizing aspects. Her toxic effects are just as more potent and effective if the other planetary symbolism or the macro or the microcosmic events associated with the other planet aspects are cooperative with her. So, and yeah, it totally makes sense too that the fact that Saturn is conjunct with Uranus in the 11th house, or conjunct with Mars in the 11th house. I want to say Uranus because that's the Uranus Aquarius house. So, yeah. And just thinking about it too, the fact that Sagittarius is ruling the 11th house at that point in time, that's supposed to be associated with hopes and dreams and also trauma. And so if you want to take it from the trauma perspective, Sagittarius is supposed to be the grass is greener on the other side. They're the ones that are always like seeing above and beyond sort of thing, and feeling like they never have exactly all they want or enough. That there's something that they're always aspiring to grab. And if you take that archetype and then try to infuse it with the trauma or the trauma and transcendence of people feeling like they're in pain and they need a way out, and Uranus actually semi-squaring that Mars right there, the Sagittarius feeling like the Sagittarius feeling robbed, wronged, or feeling as if that whatever he is striving to get, that he feels is missing, will never manifest in this life. And that was essentially his mentality when he died. I don't know if I should actually try to contact anybody that knew him, wants to know this. I didn't actually expect to do some sort of astro psychoanalytic interpretation of that, but I think that's what I just did. Wow, see? I knew I was going to record this for a reason. Look at that, it's only 10 minutes. Interesting. I wonder if I can do this more. So just to recap, his body was discovered at 5:30 a.m. and they are still obviously doing the ongoing investigation. I don't know when the time of death transpired. I would say give or take depending on the parameters, how he fell, how far he fell, what he fell on, if he fell on anything on the ground or if he fell head first, because I would assume that he fell head first. Or he might have broke his legs, like his spine. Either way, if he didn't die right away, that means that he could have possibly jumped. If I were to speculate, I think he started to contemplate or think about jumping, or wherever he went. I don't know if it was immediately where he was working, but about 10-15 after midnight, he started to think about it. Lilith went over his MC and was making that trine to the moon, as well as making some hard aspects to Jupiter and Saturn at the same time. And then as it continues to go on, he likely jumped about 40 after. Yeah. And I would assume that at 57, 58, or 59, so that would be a minute or two before 1 a.m., he died. That's when he passed. I don't think I'll ever get the exact details of any kind of report or anything like that, and people who knew him may not even know that much, may not be able to gather that much. I know science has made a lot of breakthroughs, but you never know. Oh yeah, I hate to use this as an example to say I told you so, not about this person in particular, but a previous argument I had a long time ago. A grand trine set off the majority of this. Just FYI. Granted, the T-square of the moon helped. But if it wasn't for the grand trine, when Pluto went over the ascendant, he probably would have hesitated or wouldn't have felt so decisive or stuck on his decision to do what he did. Well, I hope that whatever you were looking for, sir, you're on your way now.